What if everything you knew about Huckleberry Finn was flipped on its head? What if the story wasn't about Huck at all, but about Jim, the enslaved man fighting for his freedom, his dignity, and his family? That's exactly what Percival Everett does in his groundbreaking novel James. But this isn't just a retelling, it's a revelation. A book that forces us to confront power, language, survival, and what it truly means to be free. And the incredible thing? The lessons hidden in this story can change how you see your own life. James is a novel that reclaims the story of Jim, making him the central figure rather than just a supporting character in someone else's adventure. In Huckleberry Finn, Jim exists largely through Huck's perception. But here, we see his intelligence, his fears, his dreams. He's no longer just a symbol of slavery. He's a fully realized human being. A father, a strategist, a thinker. One of the most striking elements of the book is how James understands the power of language. He knows that the way he speaks affects how people perceive him. Around white people, he plays the role expected of him, using broken speech, but internally he is articulate, reflective, and deeply philosophical. He's performing for survival. That raises an important question. How much of your own life is a performance? Are you playing a role to fit in at work, at school, in your relationships? Have you ever felt like you had to hide parts of yourself to be accepted? Maybe you've had to change the way you talk, act, or think, just to navigate certain spaces. If you've ever felt like you weren't being seen for who you truly are, you're not alone. The question is, how can you reclaim your own story? Take a moment and think about the roles you play every day. Write them down. Which ones feel authentic? Which ones feel forced? And what's one small way you can step into your truth more fully? Maybe it's speaking with sincerity instead of saying what people want to hear. Maybe it's being more mindful of how you present yourself, ensuring that your words and actions reflect your true values. As much as James is about reclaiming identity, it's also about freedom, or rather, the illusion of it. Throughout the book, James is physically running toward freedom, but we quickly see that freedom is not as simple as crossing into the north. Even when James is legally free, systemic racism and the weight of history still press down on him. This forces us to ask, what does freedom actually mean? It's easy to think of freedom as something external, the ability to go where you want, do what you want. But James challenges us to think about the invisible chains we carry. Even today, people may not be in literal bondage, but they can be trapped by debt, by fear, by societal expectations. Think about your own life. Are there ways you feel trapped, even though you're technically free? Maybe you feel stuck in unhealthy habits, distractions, or situations that take you away from your purpose. Maybe you feel pressured to live according to the expectations of others, rather than following a path that is right for you. Take a moment and reflect. What's one area of your life where you feel like you're just going through the motions instead of truly living? What's one step you could take to break that pattern? It doesn't have to be something huge. It could be as small as setting better priorities, letting go of unnecessary stress, or focusing on what truly benefits you in the long run. Freedom in James isn't just about physical escape. It's about the ability to define yourself. But James knows that survival isn't just about brute strength. It's about wit, strategy, and patience. He uses humor and irony to navigate dangerous situations. Sometimes he plays dumb because he knows that's what white people expect, and by doing so, he manipulates their assumptions. This is a survival skill, but it's also a form of resistance. How often do we underestimate the power of strategy in our own lives? There are moments when direct confrontation isn't the best path forward, and instead, it's about choosing your battles wisely. Think about a time when you've had to navigate a tricky situation, maybe with a teacher, a colleague, or even a family member. Did you speak your mind right away? Or did you wait for the right moment? The smartest move isn't always the loudest one. The next time you're in a high-stakes conversation, try something different. Instead of reacting immediately, pause. Think. Choose your words with wisdom and patience. Watch how it shifts the dynamic. Sometimes silence is more powerful than words. Sometimes letting people underestimate you gives you the upper hand. James teaches us that survival isn't just about endurance, it's about playing the long game. But survival comes at a cost. Throughout the novel, James wears so many masks that he almost forgets who he is. He's constantly performing, constantly calculating. And that makes us wonder, what are we sacrificing in order to survive? Have you ever given up a piece of yourself just to get by? Maybe you've abandoned good habits because they seemed inconvenient. Maybe you've drifted away from things that once brought you peace and clarity. We all make compromises, but at what point does survival steal the very life we're trying to save? Think about something you've given up for the sake of stability. Maybe it's something small, like a beneficial routine that used to give your day structure but got lost in busyness. Maybe it's something bigger, like a version of yourself that was more patient, kind, or reflective. Is there a way to reclaim it, even in a small way? James's story isn't just about one man's journey, it's a mirror for all of us. It forces us to ask ourselves, who gets to tell our story? What does freedom actually mean? When is survival worth the cost? And most importantly, how do we take these lessons and apply them to our own lives? So here's your challenge. First, reclaim your story. Think of a label others have given you that doesn't fit one that has shaped the way you see yourself. Write it down. Then, rewrite it with words that reflect who you truly are. Second, audit your freedom. Take a hard look at your life and pinpoint the areas where you feel trapped. Pick one small act of positive change, something that brings you closer to the life you actually want. And finally, remember that sometimes strategy beats strength. In your next challenge, instead of reacting emotionally, pause. Think. Ask yourself, what would James do? This book isn't just a novel, it's a challenge. It forces us to examine ourselves in ways we might not want to. But if you're willing to reflect, it might just change how you see yourself. Let me know in the comments which theme hit the hardest for you. And if you want more deep dives like this, make sure to like, subscribe, and stick around, because the best stories aren't just the ones we read, they're the ones we live with.